Hey, what's going on, rock stars? Blue Rocket Guitars coming at you. Well, just working on the Melody Maker. I think that's what they call it. Yeah, the Melody Maker. Melody Maker. Watching one of my favorite guitar building shows that I find interesting, as you can see over here. And I don't know if I can mention the name or not, because YouTube is pretty strict on certain things, so I'm not sure if I can mention the name, but if you know who that is, then you know what I'm watching. He's very informative. I like him. He's overseas, and I like some of the stuff he does. Cool and interesting things. So, Melody Maker, we're getting ready to get this into paint. Yeah, so I figured, well, I'll film this little paint process. So the client wants me basically to stain it back, get it close to, kind of that brown, burgundy, mahogany kind of color. They've come in a couple of different colors. They've come in, your browns, your reds, your mahoganies. They also come in burst and a couple other colors. So, we're just gonna do the brown color because that's what he likes. So yeah, this ought to be interesting. Lots of sanding was involved. I think he did most of the sanding. I'm only doing a little bit of it. There's certain things that need to be addressed before we can go into paint. Obviously, that's one of the areas we need to address. So we're going to be sanding out the color there as much as we can. I also have a chemical that I like to use that I kind of make up with a couple different thinners, and it helps kind of pull the color out a little bit too. It helps the process because sanding that out is, well, quite involved. But it's kind of one of the only ways that you can accomplish it thoroughly. Anyway, in my opinion, there's other methods. I do have a natural strip clean product that I like to use, or clean strip, I believe it's called, and it does pretty good. It's mainly citrus based, so it doesn't really do any damage to the actual wood. But unfortunately, if you don't clean it afterwards really good, you can have some problems when you start your paint process, especially if you're going to prime it prior to paint. This we're not actually priming, so we don't have to worry about it that much, but you still have to clean after you put chemical treatments, to take paint off. You need to come back with a cleaner and really clean it. And there's a lot of different things you can use out there. Some people use thinners. Other people use reducers. They tend to dry very quickly. And I know that in some cases I've actually used acetone. I use this for a lot of other things. Not really, removing color, of course. It doesn't really do that. But it does help with, cleansing things. But, yeah. So this is kind of where we're at. And it's a heck of a process. Looks like there was some kind of thing going on with the wood color here, so we will sand that and make that right. I went ahead and darkened in the actual serial number here because, man, you couldn't really see it. And I know I'm going to put stain in there, but if you add a little black prior to the stain, and I like to use an ink, and I go at it with a real thin, it's a pen, but it's more like a sharp, very sharp pen. They call it, the pens they usually call, I think they're like, oh shoot, I don't know, let me see here, what the hell is this thing called? So it's an artist pen. Well, that's great. For graphics and illustration. So you can get those pins typically at like places that sell stuff for drafting supplies and stuff like that. That's what they mainly use that pin for. But I use it to actually, you know, get a little black into the actual number there. And then we're going to sand this. And once the black's in, it pretty much stays in because it's ink. And it really gets in there nice. And so you don't have any kind of, you know how ink, when it sucks in, when wood sucks it in, it tends to just like, whoosh, you know what I'm saying. I don't have a word for that. Whoosh, that's my word. Hope you like it. Anyway, you know how it just kind of weeds its way through the grain. So if you put a dot here, all of a sudden that dot's really big. Well, these pens, they dry extremely fast. So it's not like you're putting a lot of ink in there. You're putting very, very, very little ink, actually, in one little stroke. So, and it actually works really well, as you can see. It works nice. And so when we stain it, the serial numbers will come through even better. And, you know, that's what you want to see. You definitely want to keep the serial numbers on these older guitars. I mean, what is this, 1922? No, I'm just kidding. These old things, you want to keep them close to the original finish and close to the original colors and, you know, the serials and things of that nature, so it doesn't decrease the value too much. This gentleman doesn't really care about selling this guitar. This is more for him. And yeah, so it doesn't have to be, you know, historically correct. It just needs to look good. And that's what we do. We do historically correct on some things. I've been asked to do lacquer many times, and I don't like lacquer. Let's just put it that way. It takes too long. Too many coats. Too many sanding in between the coats. And, you know, I mean, it's simple to do, but it just takes a long time to build. It just doesn't build. And poly, you know, polyurethane, polyester. Polyester is a good sealer. And then polyurethane, and then sometimes even polyester top coat. Just finishes better. Doesn't have as many issues. And doesn't crack. But a lot of you classic guys out there love the checking and the cracking and all that stuff. And that's okay. I mean, you know, if that's your thing. It's not really my thing. But I actually figured out a way to check poly. And no, I'm not going to tell you. I did that for a friend of mine who is a guitar player in the Screaming Sirens, or Sirens Screaming, or I forget, Jack. And yeah, he's endorsed by ESP, and they don't really do lacquer. So he was asking me, hey man, can you check this? And I was like, yeah, I can make it look like a 1950 something. And he's like, great. And it came out awesome. So you can check polyurethane. It's a process, and it's not easy, and it takes time. But anyway, back to this. Looks pretty good so far. Just got to go through here and make sure that he did sand with the grain, because I actually didn't do the majority of the sanding here. And that's one of the most important things when you're putting a finish on a guitar, especially, you know, a die. And you definitely want to make sure that you sand with the grain. That way you don't have scratches. And there's a lot of people that might know that, and there's a lot of people that might not know that. So a little information for you guys. Well, all right, so we're going to get this dialed in today. Might even get it into some clear coat by this afternoon, then we'll do another video. All right, man, like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff, and I'm going to get back to it. See ya.